Up. All live. There we go.
FFTV chat. How are you? Who we got in here? We've got Martin Orchard. Hello, Martin. How are you? David? Yes, you're quite right. This is going to be a good watch. Get your comments in the chat, guys. This is FTV High Press, and we've got a very special guest with us today. You probably gathered from the thumbnail. This amazing footballer had over 727, I believe, pro and semi-pro appearances, which is incredible. Also managed 11 clubs, and more importantly, was the youngest player to win the European Cup, and that record still holds, and probably will be held for a long time yet. The nice thing is he did that for Forest. It was great. He also had 2 under his belt by 18. He's got a book called Young Millsy. So we're going to introduce him in a second. Get your comments in the chat. Ant, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm looking forward to this.
You're a bit of a
fanboy, but
you are a fanboy, aren't you? We're both fanboys.
So Gary and I are around the same age, so
yeah. But let's be honest.
Whilst I was, we're all the same age. Look
at the difference between how. Well, you'll see chat when he comes on.
Yeah, I had all paper around though. He was playing football. Come on.
This is a lesson in lifestyle management when you see how fit Gary looks.
I always think that whilst I was standing with Trenton, having people piss behind my back and all stuff like that, Gary was out on the pitch playing for Forest. Still blows
pissing
my
on
mind.
The players. Hi, Crypto Rider. How are you? Welcome, everybody. Okay, I'm not going to keep you any longer. You're not here to see me or Ant. You're here to see this man. Gary Mills. Welcome, Gary.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here. Did you hear me?
Yeah, really fun.
Okay, good.
Thanks for joining us. More importantly, thank you for the 2 stars. I've never said that before, and I may never say it again, but thank you for the 2 stars.
No, it's an
we appreciate it.
Thank you for
it's an absolute pleasure. I don't know. It's just, even as a player, you feel that I should be thanking you, the supporters, and because we're together on that, and that's the way it is, and it's just great that we've got those 2 stars, and proud of it.
Never to be taken away, Gary. Never to be taken away.
Absolutely.
I'm going to pull up a comment here. Martin, great point there. I know we're of a certain age, and this is why Ant and I are doing this, because we were fighting who was going to do this interview with Gary, to be honest. And then eventually it was a stalemate, and we both decided to do it. So it doesn't matter if you're the younger demographic of the Forest group and the FFTV chat. There's something in this podcast for everyone, so we try to sort of blend it in with something that's going to be useful for the younger guys as well. But if you don't know, Gary Mills was, if you can remember Micah Richards, can you remember his famous, he flies around TikTok all the time, where he says how he burst onto the scene, and then Roy Keane rips him to pieces about bursting onto the scene. But Gary, you really did burst onto the scene, didn't you? Making your first team debut at 16?
Correct, yeah, 16.
Which is ridiculous. What happened before 16? How did you get picked up by Forest?
Well, it's an unbelievable story. I was 13, and back in those days, you used to have scouts around the country looking for talent, if you like, and Forest had this scout that Nick Turner, his name was. Never forget him, because he's the one who started it for me. I was playing for my junior side, Long Buckby, a team called Long Buckby, and we were playing in rugby against somebody. And he just pulled me after the game and said, "Is your mum and dad here? I'm from Nottingham Forest. I'd like you to come up and have a trial." And I was 13. And so, cut a long story short, I came up for a trial, and within 6 months, turning 14, I was playing in the Central League.
In the Reserve Central League.
The Reserve Central League, which, if we're talking about, we're the same age, Anthony. We can remember, or you can remember, the Central League, which was a fantastic league, and used to play on a Saturday afternoon on the main grounds when the opposing team were away from home, the actual first team. So I was playing at Old Trafford, I was playing, Main Road, I was playing Anfield at 14. And what used to happen then was, because there was only one sub in those days, so the rest of the squad, we used to have squads of 16 to 20 back in those days, would be playing in those reserve games. And I was playing against Colin Bells and, such like, that were incredible players. The first player I played against I was a right winger when I first started at Forest, and we played Liverpool at home on a Wednesday night, and Joey Jones was playing left back for Liverpool. And like I say, I was 14, and I can remember the gaffer, calling me from the stand, or shouting to me from the stand, and it was a new introduction of what he was like to me at 14, but it wasn't things you would tend to hear as a 14, be soft on him or anything like that. Anyway, I come in at half time, and he got his hand and grabbed me where you don't want to be grabbed, and said something
style.
something along the lines of, if you don't pass the ball, son, then I'll chop these off. And I was 14, and so I remember going out for the second half, and remember Sean Hazelgrave, who played Forest those years ago. I passed the ball inside the box to him, and I heard from the stand was the gaffer again, "That's how you play." It was an introduction that I could not believe, and so I had 2 years of that. I had 2 years of that, and without realising it and without knowing, he was turning me into a man. And I remember when I was 14, he said to me, "You might as well learn at 14, son, than 24, and I'll listen to what I'm saying."
I mean, managers wouldn't dare talk to basically kids like that nowadays, would they? They wouldn't dare,
They couldn't get away with it
in the office the next day.
They wouldn't dare, and they wouldn't allow it now, like you say. But it's the best introduction and apprenticeship that anybody could have asked for, and without realising, like I say, at 16, it turned me into, his words, a young man, rather than a boy. Which enabled me to make my debut against Arsenal at the age of 16, and which, by the way, was my team I supported as a boy. So I was actually playing.
No. I thought you'd be like a Northampton fan or something.
Well, I was a Northampton fan, but we all.
You need a proper team.
Well, my dad played for Northampton all his life. My dad was a professional. And he played for Northampton all his life. He worked for Northampton all his life. And Northampton wanted me to obviously sign for them as a schoolboy and blah, blah, blah. But, Forest was straight away. It was incredible how they treated me. And at 14 as well, just going back to when I was 14, I'd come up from school holidays and half term, and there was 2 pitches down the old training ground by the side of the Trent. And I was on the one pitch with the youth lads training and playing this game. And the first team were on the other pitch. And he stopped both games and said, "Oi, you young man, get your arse over here." And I went and played in the first team practice game on the training field, where Larry Lloyd made it clear. Well, I went past Larry Lloyd. I was very quick back then, and I went past Larry Lloyd once.
You look a bit quick now, to be fair.
No, believe me, I'm not. And I tried to go past him again, and he kicked me up in the air like you would not believe, and looked down at me, and using the F words, sort of said, "You can do that again."
Yeah.
And it's not until quite recently, actually, because I've never really, I have mentioned it and stuff like that, that the gaffer had told Lloydie to actually do that. Obviously testing me, what sort of man I was, whether I could,
You got the balls or not.
whether I got the balls or not. Yeah. So it was all part and parcel of. Oh, it was incredible. It was incredible. And I just felt part of it. And I didn't feel like a boy. I didn't feel any different when I was training with the first team, because that's the way the gaffer and Peter Taylor made it. That I was part of them, and I was no different to the stars that had won the league the year before. So quite incredible.
I want the chat to realise what you were like at the age of 14 and 16, and imagine Gary playing in the reserves with some chiseled players, to be fair, in a very tough league.
Yeah.
And then first your debut against Arsenal at 16. I mean, ridiculous, really, when you think about it.
Yeah,
so
it was.
So you've had a long career. You've mentioned a fantastic Clough story already, but what were the players like? When you were that age on the pitch, were they supportive? Did they treat you as the same age as them? Did they treat you any differently? Did they look after you? How did that work?
They looked after me, but in a way that when you say look after, it's not wrap me in cotton wool. It was, if I didn't do what I should have been doing on the field, then they let me know, and that was looking after me. I didn't want it any other way, because
it's a hard business, isn't it, Gary? And you can't be protected from it. You're playing against men, and they're gonna not treat you like a boy. They're gonna treat you like a man. So you've got to grow up quick, I guess.
Listen, I was at Forest for 10 years plus, and many a player, that weren't 14, that weren't 16, that signed for the club, that were in the 20s, couldn't handle it.
Mm-hmm.
And they ended up leaving the club, because
couldn't handle the football, or couldn't handle Brian Clough and that regime.
Couldn't handle that regime. Couldn't handle what the gaffer was all about, and couldn't handle the way that he worked. And if the gaffer knew that straight away, it didn't matter whether he'd been at the club a week or a year, then he got rid. And I think some. I'm just looking at one of the tricky Mickey. Kenny Burns doesn't mess around. He certainly didn't mess around with me. He used to kick me, and he lifted me up in the shower room. I took my feet off the floor literally, because he blamed me for one of his bookings, and he chased me around the training field for about 6 months, and I was always glad when I was on the same side as him, but not that it really mattered with Burnsy, to be honest.
For the guys and girls in the chat, Kenny Burns and Larry Lloyd were hard as nails. Hard. Yeah. I can't think of a footballer today, a pair of centre backs like that.
No.
Yeah.
I mean,
you were scared to go past them, weren't you?
You used to get some centre halves back in those days. That raw meat. We used to say, they're a bit like raw meat, but I'm glad they was on the same side as me, and. What was fantastic about all those lads, and we meet up now and we get together, and no one was better than anybody else. And at 16, no one was better than me, and that's the way I was made to feel. Terry Curran, a little story when I signed my schoolboy forms. Terry Curran, and because I used to watch a couple of games, and I loved, because I was a right wing when he was, and I love Terry Curran. He was he used to go past players, which they don't do anymore, do they? They don't take players on anymore. They pass the ball back to the goalkeeper when they've got time to cross the ball. So I used to love watching him. And when I signed schoolboy forms, the gaffer said, "Oh, young man, come with me," and he took me into the dressing room because they were playing a game that night. And he went to Terry Curran with me, and he said, "Oi, Big Ed, do you know who this is?" And he went, "I haven't got a clue, boss." He says, This is a lad called Gary Mills, and he's going to take your place. So just watch out. And I didn't know what to say, you know. But that's what, you know, made me feel 10 foot tall and made me believe. You know, I was confident anyway. I'd had an unbelievable childhood as I played for England schoolboys. I played for England schoolboys at rugby as well. You know, and I had an unbelievable time in 1977 where I scored a goal at Wembley, and I scored a try at Twickenham, like a mock play.
That's one of my questions down the pan then.
Oh, sorry.
Answer that question for you.
You carry on.
I talk too much, you see. Sorry.
No. That's what you're here for. Nobody wants to listen to Ant and I. So.
And I was quick, like I say, and I got to the final of the All England 100 metres as well, where I finished 6th.
Oh my goodness, you were quick.
And that was the same year. Yeah. So it was all sort of happening for me, you know. But I live in, you know, I've come to Nottingham from the age of 14 and come to Nottingham to live from the age of 16. Married my wife Sue, Nottingham girl, and I still live here. I love the city, and it's fantastic. You know.
Gary, was there a time when? Yeah, I was going to say, was there a time when you had to make a choice? Because, like you say, you scored a try at Twickenham, didn't you, for England boys? The same year you scored a goal at Wembley for England boys. Yeah. Was there a time when you had to make a decision whether to go down the rugby route or down the football route?
No, there was never. There was never.
I don't blame you.
never. To be fair, if it wasn't for my sports master at my comprehensive school in Northampton, I don't think I would have played for England, because my dad, because I was coming to Forest at the time and signed schoolboy forms, that my dad didn't want me playing rugby, and I went to the school and had many an argument with the sports master, a fellow called David Pope, who, you know, I thank him all the time now for being strong with my dad. If it wasn't for him, then I wouldn't have played rugby for England schoolboys, and I'm glad I did. You know, I played fullback at rugby, and I played at Twickenham a couple of times, and you know, I remember going to France, playing France, and I scored a try in the last minute to beat France at rugby, and incredible. Yeah. It was incredible, and then all this was happening at Forest as well. You know.
There you go. There's a question from Martin there.
I had good parents, and they kept my feet on the floor. You know.
Did you marry the girl who was waiting at the airport after the Madrid game, Sue?
No.
Okay. Martin, you've just dropped him right in it there.
We'll move on from that.
Sorry, Sue. It wasn't you. I just want to mention, people are asking about questions and answers in the chat. We've got a very special guest star on being the moderator tonight. It's Wolverine. So Wolverine, glorified moderator, if you would like to get a Q&A up for us, and we'll do it at the end, guys. How did you get the name Young? Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I'm going to pop out and pop in again because my sound keeps cracking up, so I'll be back.
Okay. Sorry, I've just got to pull it. Gary, you've got to keep an eye on the chat, because this is the funniest chat on YouTube. Seriously, I end up watching all of our. You know, if I'm on the stream, I'll end up looking at the chat because they are so funny. They're the most. Who's Wolverine?
I'll look at them and not you then. I'll look at
we'll talk about this later, but I just want to mention it now. You've got a book out called Young Millsy.
Yeah.
Where did that name come from? Who penned that? Because that kind of sounds like a Clough thing to me. And I can't do the Clough. I'm probably the only person on the planet that can't do a Brian Clough impression. So
have a go.
Young Millsy.
That's not
No, the chat's going to rip me now. Don't worry.
That's not bad. Just that, really, you know.
Was it Clough?
Yeah, you know, a young man, young Millsy, and because I started so young, even, you know, my teammates, hey, young Millsy, go and get me a drink, young Mills. So it was always young Mills, and even now when we meet up, I'm obviously still the young Millsy.
Yeah.
And you're the youngest. You're young Millsy. Go and get the lads a drink, you know. And this is like only last year, so Some of them are in the 70s now. I'm in my 60s, and but I'm still known. So there was only one title that was going to be my book to be.
Stop giving my age away.
Oh, sorry, Anthony. Sorry,
Look,
I didn't say
Gary, this is what our
60.
chat's like, right? This is what, can you see all this? Dino sounding like a Dalek. I mean, that's not bad. Stoney, I love you, but never do that impression again. Look, honestly, it's actually just worth watching this channel just for the chat. I mean, they're more entertaining than we are, to be honest. You mentioned Clough there, Gary, and I want to talk about that time with Clough and the players, and in particular, probably you've talked about Clough already and how he handled you, but what about Peter Taylor? What impact did he have? Because one thing that frustrates me, and I know, is that he was kind of a really unsung hero, and it's all Clough, but without, in our opinion as fans, this is just in our opinion, without Taylor, Clough was much weaker.
Absolutely. You know, and on a personal note, Peter Taylor was fantastic for me. And if I'm going to be quite honest, I think Peter Taylor was more me than probably what the gaffer was. Peter Taylor liked me as a player. I think he liked me as a person, and he sort of made that clear to me. And I don't, you know, I agree with what you're saying. It's always the gaffer, Brian Clough. People talk about, and Peter tends to get left out, but he was a funny man. He was a funny man, you know. He was so funny, and you know, even team talks, he tried to turn them into a comedy act, you know, and he'd stand there and do certain things before a big game that no one else would do. Never again in this world would anybody do things.
It's a bit like Morecambe and Wise.
For
those who can remember Morecambe and Wise, obviously.
Well, me and Ant can. We're only just in our 60s, if that helps, Ant. But look, Peter Taylor was fantastic for me, and you know, I see some of his family every so often, and we talk about him, and so for me personally, he was great. He was great.
Yeah. I mean, it's, you know, whenever we see ex-Forest players from that era being interviewed on things like this podcasts, it all kind of turns into all about Brian Clough, and I didn't want to do that with you tonight, which is why I wanted to mention Peter Taylor in one way. But what, you know, again, during the sort of early years, sort of sub-20, what were the players like with you in terms of who were the ones that put in their arm around your shoulder, who were the ones that were your mentor, if that was the case, and, you know, alternatively, who were the ones you didn't quite gel with?
Well, again, the gaffer was clever. He used to room me with John McGovern. Now John, you know, is a top professional, and I think he'd had a word with John as well, without John telling me that he had. But you know, John had this thing that when we'd finished training, he used to run back to the ground every
on his own.
Well, yeah, basically on his own. But then he sort of got me to do it with him. He used to say, "Hey, Gary, come on, we're going to run back," and he used to do things like that, you know. And like I say, when we had away games or when we went abroad, or he used to room me with John, and you know, and again, don't forget I was 16, so John used to go, we're going down for a bite to eat at this, make sure you're ready, and sort of, no, you can't wear that, you've got to wear this, and sort of, you know, the disciplines that the gaffer wanted. John made it clear to me that I had to learn very, very quickly and straight away, otherwise I wouldn't be part of what this great team was going to be like. So yeah, John was great. But no, look, I cannot remember not getting on with any of them, apart from Burnsy for 6 months, because I got him booked apparently.
Well, and after 6 months, did he finally forgive you, or did you buy him a pint?
Burnsy couldn't drink a pint. Burnsy was a short man.
Was he?
But he was great, you know, and I get on great with him now. And you know, every so often he rings me, Burnsy, you know, and all right, Ken, yeah, what's up? nothing. I'm just ringing to see how you are. And it's lovely. You know, it's absolutely lovely.
I've got to say though, he's not quite kept the same physique as you've done. I have to say that.
That's only because he's not sitting next to you.
Yeah, well, that's right. Yeah. And on that,
how do you keep
point,
this physique? Yeah, sorry.
On that point as well, because Larry's not the slimmest guy either. Which of the two, Larry Lord or Kenny Burns, would you say was the dirtiest or hardest or whatever? Can you pick between the two?
I think, how would I describe Burnsy? Burnsy was like, you'd get put down. You get 25 years now for some of the things he used to do on the field. on a field, there was no messing. Whereas Larry was dirty, but I think sometimes Larry wasn't quite as quick as Kenny, and I think sometimes players had to go because he couldn't keep up with them at times. But you know, reading the game, both of them, and you know what they had together, and you know the chats they have, that you can only have so many bookings, and when they wanted to sort a striker out, they used to say, how many bookings are you on? And used to go, I'm on 5. Well, I'm going to have to get him today then, because I'm only on 3. That type of chat. But they were hard
men.
Fair? Can I say fair?
Ish. Well, in those days, pretty much anything was fair.
This is one. We were never. Sorry if I'm probably taking your questions away. We were never coached on any training session at Forest, as in we never done one corner, we never done one free kick, we never practiced anything like that. We just had to know our jobs and our positions that we played. And you know, many times the gaffer would remind the centre halves, I pay you to head the ball, so when the ball comes into our box, head the ball out of our box. And he used to say to the strikers, you know, Gary Birtle's me mate, and whoever the strikers were, I pay you to head the ball in the goal. Now head the ball in the goal. And that was the coaching, you know, that was it. I made a big mistake once, because coaching was a word never used at Forest in our day. And I played for England schoolboys, yes, England youth, yes, and England under 21s. And when I played for England under 21s, Terry Venables got the job as the 21s manager. So off I went to play for the 21s, and you go away for a few days, and I come back, and I'm sitting in the dressing room, and the gaffer walks in, and he went, hello, son, how did you get on? Was it good? And I said, yeah, the coaching was good, gaffer. You know, he went, coaching? I'll give you effing coaching. Get a ball and come out on that field with me now. And I said, so I had to get a ball, and he took me on the city ground, right? And he went, right, I'll teach you effing coaching. And he threw a ball to me, to my feet from a throw, and he went, where did that ball end up? I said, my feet. He says, that's how you throw a ball. That's coaching. Now get over there with the ball. And he passed the ball to me, to my feet, and he went, what have I just done? I said, pass the ball to my feet, boss. He went, now pass the ball to his feet. And he went, that's effing coaching. And I must have been on there a good half an hour. He went through everything, heading, everything. That's effing coaching. That's effing coaching. Now F off when he'd finished with me. Never talk about coaching to me ever again.
So do you think that football's too complicated now? I mean, you know, we've got drones following the Forest players currently around the training ground, you know, and then you look at the heat maps and they're all over the place. But do you think it's got just personally, I believe it is too complex.
You sound a bit like Norman Collier now, Dean.
Do I?
I've lost you, mate.
Can you hear me all right, Anne?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Do you want to go out and then come back in, Gary? If you go out and then come back in, we'll get you back in. Can you hear me properly, or? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Can everybody else hear Gary and okay and me? Just let me know in the chat. Right.
Hello?
Is that okay? Is that better?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, do you think football's too complicated now in terms of, my opinion, and I think Ant shares the same opinion, but they're sending players out with 1,000,001 instructions, and it dampens the freedom down. I think there was a comment earlier from Samir. Look, no, not that one. Somebody said, just do the basics. I can't remember who it was. Sorry, whoever did that. Cover the basics. Thank you. It was Samir.
Yeah.
So, because you've managed as well, which we'll come on to.
Yeah.
What do you think? What's your opinion of modern football today?
Yeah, you're 100%. Overcomplicate things. Everything was simple, basic when we played, and with that, we had to work hard and do our jobs. My job when I first started on the right was to go past the player and cross the ball. When the ball was coming in from the other side from Robbo, I had to be at the far post. When the other team were attacking, I had to be doubling up with Viv Anderson to back him up, and that was my job.
And they were the instructions. That was it.
That was it.
Yeah.
That was it. Nothing else. That was it.
We find it point a certain player, Gary, and say you man mark him, or just watch for the overlap or something like that. Was anything like that? I'm trying to figure out how it's changed over the years, and I don't think it's changed for the better personally.
No. Can I just say, people won't, whether they believe this or believe it or not, and it's true. Peter Taylor and the gaffer never spoke about the opposition. Now, I've been in dressing rooms as a player later on in my career where they fill the wall about the opposition.
I think they all do now, don't they? I think they all do.
And you get sheets of paper about who you're playing against and how good he is and what he can do. And it was never about the opposition. It was never about how good the player was who was playing. The gaffer would know how good he was, but would never tell us that. He would tell us how good we were. He would make it clear how good we were, what we were good at. We never spoke about the opposition, not once. Not once. I remember talking about, right, when we play, I don't know, Spurs tomorrow, this is how they play, this is how they set up, it was all about us. So we could have been playing anybody on the Saturday. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. And we didn't do bad at it, did we? And
not really, no.
And I think, yeah, they complicate it now. Yes, I did go into management. The man management side is massive, absolutely massive, and I kept it. People, you could never copy the gaffer ever. Don't even try, because But what I did learn was that it's a simple game. Keep it simple. Don't try and be clever because you got your coaching badges and all this. Don't complicate it for your players. Don't complicate it for your team. And go and play the way you play. It is a simple game, a basic game that's now made.
It can be
complicated. I don't enjoy seeing the ball being passed around the back. I don't, because I was a winger, and I see a player actually go past a player, which is very rare. And don't cross the ball and come back and give it the fullback. Then it goes back to the centre half, and then back to the goalkeeper when they could have crossed the ball. I'm like, oh.
Gary, that's one of our frustrations this season, to be honest. so much passing around at the back. It drives us absolutely.
Yeah, but it's everywhere, isn't it? You know, every team. Every team. I remember watching Forest when they were in the Championship a couple of years ago now, and they were losing a game. The game was 1-0, losing the game 1-0, and it was like the 89th minute, and we had got a free kick on the halfway line, and I was going, "Go on, get everybody up there, get the centre halves up there, go on," and I put the ball down and went back to the goalkeeper, and I had to switch the telly off because I was like, "How the hell are you going to get back in this?" So, you know. Basic thing, and people say now, you know, how we weren't as fit then, and all this, and all. You know, we were fit. Look how many games we played. We were fit, and
small squad as well, Gary. And you had much smaller squads.
Yeah, we never talked about being tired. We never spoke about that. And listen, there's some good things now, but I say, look, if you think we weren't fit enough, we could get fitter, then how good these players that I played with, how good would they have been then if they could have even got fitter than what they were? So
what about this comment from Mark here? 4-4-2. Do you think that could live in the Premier League?
They play it occasionally, but you know, very well now. Not very often. Not very often. I think 4-4-2 works in the Premier League now because they like to flood the midfield, don't they? You know, they like to put a lot of bodies into the middle of the park. It's just the way they play. I mean, you know, it is totally different to what we're used to. Do I enjoy watching the goalkeeper give it the centre half in the 6-yard box from a goal kick? And then there've been 6 passes in the 18-yard box, you know, before it goes forward into the opposition's half. Eventually, sometimes it doesn't. You don't even get out of their own half, and I just find it amazing that they do that. And I don't enjoy watching that. No, I don't.
No, it's quite frustrating. There was much more wing play back in those days, wasn't there? I mean, we were graced with great wingers. I mean, John Robertson and O'Neill. And,
I think part of the problem is that entertainment's been overtaken by money, and teams are so afraid of losing these days that they just didn't play attacking, attractive football. I mean, we've been crying out. We on this channel have been crying out all season for us to, you know, away from home, for example. We have a shocking record away from home.
Yeah.
And we play defensively away from home. You think, well, you're getting beat anyway, so why not just have a go? And that will surprise the hell out of the opposition for a start, because they must think, oh, well, it's just Forest. They're not going to attack. We're okay. You know, we're playing Leeds away, for example, game after next. For me, that's the ideal opportunity to think, right, we keep losing away from home. Let's go to Leeds and let's have a go. And if we lose, we're no worse off.
Yeah. I think what we were doing, particularly early on, and you know, playing safe. You know, we had, you know, Johnson out on the right, and then whoever it was down the middle, and then whoever it was on the left, but never came off the line. And when you got pace that Johnson's got, and our left back's got the ball, then come and make a run inside the striker. But Johnson was always, you know, Brennan was always seemed to be stuck out on the right, because if we lost the ball, then they're afraid that, you know, the opposition were going to get down the left flank against us. And we don't do that as much now, you know. We don't do that as much. But when I was watching that, I was thinking, we're never going to win a game. You know, we're never going to go and hurt teams. You know, it's a tough old league. We know that, but you know, I've got to. If you're going to come up to a question in a bit, I've got to stay up by a point. By the way, that's the way I'm looking at it.
We've all done. I mean, there's 4 of us done it. Ez, and myself, and Wolverine. We've all done it. And Wolverine, you've got us going down, my friend, and the rest of us are saying.
He's such an idiot, honestly.
He is an idiot. That's why,
I don't know him, but
that's why he's in the background now. Any questions for Gary? Please put them in the Q&A, and we'll cover them in a bit. I do want to move on to I want to move on to European Cup. Now, for the younger members, the European Cup in the old days, I'm sorry I've got to do that.
Champions.
In my day, you had to win the league to qualify for the European Cup. None of this top four rubbish. You had to win your league. So it was literally the elite of every club in Europe. And then it was pretty much a straight race all the way to the final, wasn't it, Gary?
Yeah.
Now, as we mentioned earlier, you kind of, by the age of 18, you had 2 European Cups under your belt. How on earth did you cope with that at that sort of age? Or did you just not think about it? Was you nervous? Was you in awe of it all?
I wasn't nervous. I'd become such a part of that squad, even at that age, that I was part of what was happening, and I was part of a bunch of players that made me a part of that, because they knew that when I did play, that I had to be as good as whoever was playing in that shirt before me. I wanted that shirt every week, and from the age of 16 to 18, for that to happen was obviously not going to happen. But I was learning, as the gaffer used to say, learning my trade, because it's a job. It was my job. It was my job. It was my job to get down that right hand side, and then I ended up playing down the middle when sort of Trevor got his horrific injury with his Achilles, and it opened the door for me. And that was a time, you talk about Peter Taylor, that was the time Peter Taylor made it obvious to me that I was going to be the one that was going to go and play in the final in Madrid. I'd played and been involved in the 79 one, but when I went and played in the 81, I knew I was going to play. People were saying who's going to take Trevor's place. Stan Bowles was mentioned.
Stan Bowles.
Stan decided not to turn up, so that
I remember that. I actually remember that. Can you remember that?
So he'd no chance, had he,
What happened there? I remember that.
He just decided he couldn't be bothered.
You know what he done though, which is brilliant. We had a 25-year reunion, but he turned up for that.
Not the European Cup.
Wasn't it? That's why.
So he was, I think he's the only man who didn't turn up for the game, but turned up for the 25-year reunion.
That's ridiculous.
I know.
Gary, when did you make your debut in? How old were you when you made your actual, not the final, but the debut in the European Cup? How old were you?
16.
16.
Stop it. Stop it.
16. Well,
I can't tell you what I was doing at 16, but it wasn't that.
I came on as sub. I didn't start, but I came on against AEK Athens in the 43rd minute.
Away or at home, Gary?
16 at home.
Yeah, 5-1.
Yeah.
I was there. I was watching.
Yeah.
These things are just not going to be beaten for a long, long time for me. I don't think.
It was it was incredible, but I want to get over again. I didn't feel 16. I felt part of it, and that was from being. I'm just going to say coached.
Can't say coach. Young man.
But I'd been learning my trade then from the age of 14 with this great management team and with these great players to be able to not worry about. I played against Arsenal, and then we played Liverpool on the Wednesday, and I was sat on the bench as a sub playing Liverpool in the first round of the European Cup. And it was like, what is going on here? It was absolutely amazing. On my 17th birthday, we played Spurs away, and it was the year that our dealers, the two Argentinians had come over.
Ricky Vila and
Ricky Vila
and dealers. I remember
and our dealers, and I'd watched the World Cup in '78, and how good were they? You know, they were.
Oh, it's fantastic.
I remember watching Kempes with his long hair, and then the ticker tape, and it was incredible. And then
my favourite World Cup ever.
We played Spurs the first game that season, if you remember rightly, and they came the night before and put the kit out in the away dressing room, and I went in and I picked up Ozzy Ardiles' boots and felt the leather on his boots, because I've never felt such soft leather in my life as his boots, and I was like, oh my God, it's Ozzy Ardiles' boots. This was in August. Now in November we played Spurs away, and it was my 17th birthday on the actual day. We beat them 3-1 on the day. And
them were the days.
We was in the dressing room, and Brian Moore, the old commentator, came into the room because he was a friend of the gaffers, and I'm getting changed for the game. I was playing, and oi, young Millsy, get over here. So I went over and I says, yes, boss. He went, Brian, I'd like you to meet this young man, because this young man today is going to take the. Can I swear?
Yeah, piss.
Yeah, you can definitely swear.
This young man's going to take the piss out of Perryman and Ardiles today. So I want you to remember him. His name's Gary Mills. And then he said to me, now fuck off back and get yourself ready, son. And you know, things like
10 feet tall.
Absolutely, but a genius without me, you know. And I went out and I had the game of my life on my 17th birthday.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because people talk about, you know, can you remember?
Didn't they substitute Ardiles off that one?
Thank you. You took it.
Oh, sorry.
Then they subbed Ardiles, and things like, you know, and you know, I've been around doing a few talks and things in my book and bits, and when they subbed Ardiles, and I remember Jimmy Gordon running on the pitch, and went, "Hey son, you're unbelievable today, son." That was my Scottish accent, by the way.
Yeah, it's very good, better than my Clough accent.
It was an unbelievable time, Dean. You know, Anthony, it was like an incredible time for me. But
I think the thing that's coming through, Gary, is that obviously, as you say, you were brought up in a sporting environment, so you had that confidence and belief in your own ability anyway. But on top of that, the fact that Clough and Taylor were giving you so much more must have been an ideal combination, really. You know, it must have made you feel you could achieve anything, which, you know, you obviously did.
Absolutely, absolutely that they did. It happened so quickly for me, you know. Where'd you go from like being involved in 2 European Cups and you're still only 18? You know, I remember I played at Anfield in the semi-final of the League Cup. When we'd won 1-0 at home, and we went to Anfield, and I was 17, and I ran out at Anfield, and the old cop, and you know, we drew the game, which sent us through to the final, and I was part of that. You know, these games never go away, and I don't know. I'm going to give your age away again now. I'm 61. I'm 61, but I don't know if you can feel it, but I still get excited about it. I'm like a young.
How can you be 61? That's sickens me. I'm sorry.
Oh, Gary, can I tell you very quick little story? I promise, because I do tend to go on a bit. A few years ago, you were with Sue at my dad's birthday party, and obviously, I was still in awe of you, you know, because you're a European Cup winner for my club, and I was dying to ask you questions about this sort of thing, about, you know, European Cups and stuff like that. But I thought to myself, you know, I don't want to pester him because he must be sick of people asking him questions. And hearing you now, I'm thinking, oh, you know, what an opportunity I missed.
No, I never do. I never do. You know, and people, I'm sorry that people actually apologise. But can I just ask you, and please, anybody listening ever bumps into me, please never apologise. You know, if people stopped asking me, or people ever stopped wanting to talk to, you know, then something's wrong. I get more excited every year goes by with what happened and what those years were about. And
well, it just shows what a massive achievement it was. That's what it proves. When 40 years later, people are still talking and want to talk to you about it, and are still, you know, I mean, we go on about it. Well, we go on about it all the time now. So
yeah,
it just shows what a massive achievement that was.
But that's what I said. For me, you know, and I can only talk for myself. It means more to me every year, and the achievement. And you know, in lockdown, when they put on about the Forest, there was a program about Forest and our achievement and that. I sat there bawling my eyes out. I was crying.
Yeah. Oh yeah, me too. Are you talking about the Miracle Men film, or is that something else?
Not the film, but there was a documentary. And you know, it was showing our games and showing it, and everything was so basic. And you know, we had this thing that when we went 1-0 up, we knew we were going to win the game.
Yeah.
It was an unbelievable time.
Such a defensive performance as well. That side to defend, isn't it?
That's
because we were underdogs, weren't we?
You know, people say, and say to me this day, we've watched it, say, we weren't that good on the day, were we? And I go, that was probably one of our best performances.
That was fantastic.
Because it's not, you know, it's not all about attack. You know, the art of defending, you'll never get a better defensive display than ours that day.
A lot of people, when they look back, Gary, they will talk about like Sir Robbo, people, Trevor Francis, or whatever, yourself, and they look at that side of it. But that side was built on that defence, wasn't it? I mean, as a Forest player, it must be great to know that you got Burns and Lloyd back there, you know, for a start, and with Anderson, you know, and Shilton in goal. I mean, come on, it must give you so much freedom to know that they're back there.
Absolutely. And you know, just quickly before you must have heard this, and you know, you've heard all the stories anyway, and hopefully I can tell you a couple tonight that you haven't heard. But you know, we went on holiday for a week before the cup final to Mallorca, and we never trained once, you know. And then
for the European Cup final.
Yes, we went to Mallorca for a week in Calamalor and never trained once.
That's just it.
And we then flew out to Madrid. We flew out to Madrid, and you know, we hardly trained. And then one day, Peter Shilton lost it and said to the gaffer, "I've had enough. We haven't trained. We've done blah blah blah." He says, "You want to train, Peter?" He said, "Young Millsy, get that bag of balls, son, and go and train Peter there." And that there was a roundabout. You've heard that. There was a roundabout that I was volleying balls to Peter Shilton on the middle of a roundabout in Madrid, and cars were going around this roundabout. And you watch Peter Shilton that night in Madrid, the saves he made, and
yeah.
You know, so what would you say?
I wonder what Hamburg were doing at the same time. I bet they weren't volleying balls into roundabouts.
Incredible.
In the middle of a roundabout. You know, it was absolutely incredible.
Gary, I'm just going to switch you on to here, because we've created this little scene for you where you've got your own screen, because I would like you to show our lovely chat your European Cup Winners' Medal, if you would. Oh, don't freeze now.
Show my medal.
Right. I would love to see your medal, yeah.
Touching up a bit again, mate. Okay.
I'd love to see your medal, if you can show us the medal.
Oh, going the wrong way.
And I'm going to put you on big screen. You all see that? I'm hoping we'll see another one at the City Ground, but I'm not so sure.
That's not as bad for everybody else.
Hold on.
Me. Yeah, go
back. No connection. He's you know what? That's That is such a bad time.
I'm prepared to show my cycle proficiency test certificate if that I got about the same age, if that's any good.
You can do. I think you should put that. I'll put you on big screen, mate, and you can show your cycle proficiency test. What can I show? Nothing really.
Gary's back.
He's back.
We're back.
Right. Should we try that? Let's try that on small screen. Right. Okay. Because it might be the big screen that's messed that up. Let's just leave it as it is. Sorry. Could you show that again, please?
Well, that's in the case.
Can you all see that? Can you all see that? Okay.
It's freezing for me. Is it? There we go. There we go. There we go.
There you go. Yeah. See that?
How much you want for it, Gary?
Like, guys and girls.
How much you want for it, Gary? I've got a tenner going spare.
What does it say on it, Gary?
I don't think you can hear us, can you?
Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Yep. Yeah. Oh my God, that is class. Look at the comments. Look, come on, get the comments in, guys. It's not often you'll see one of those. There you go.
Don't mind me kissing it.
That's it over, Gary. Good. That's all over kids. Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. Right. Okay. So I don't know how we follow that, the European days, but we're going to talk about. Let's talk about. Not many people might know this, but you were Mr. East Midlands, weren't you? I don't know whether you didn't have a car and you just caught the bus everywhere, but you kind of played for every East Midlands club. Whether it's because you didn't want to like move far and things like that, whether it was Sue or whatever. But you ended up playing for Notts twice, Forest twice, Leicester for 200 games. I didn't know that.
Sorry.
You mentioned Leicester, didn't you? You had to mention Leicester.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I think it must be catching up for a reason. You keep mentioning other clubs, don't you?
Yeah. Okay. Let me rephrase this then. You played for all the East Midlands clubs, some on a couple of occasions, and one for 200 appearances. Why? Why did you not like travelling, or
why? To be honest, a big part of it is that I love living in Nottingham. I don't like travelling.
Told you. I knew it.
I just it was just right for
Gary. That's Nathan's comment, by the way, below you, if you can see it.
It's a private joke.
I like it. Look, I played for the clubs, and I thoroughly enjoyed. Playing for the other clubs, and success-wise, certainly at Leicester, where I captained them, and we played at Wembley 3 playoff finals and got into the Premier League by beating Derby.
Get in.
I just thought I'd bring that up.
You'd redeem yourself.
Plus, I play for Derby.
We forgive you.
I played for Derby for 6 months on loan. I thought I'd get that one in.
Yeah, I know you did. But we weren't going to mention that. Can I ask you a quick question, Gary? When you went to Leicester, when you first started at Leicester, was there any issues with the fans with you being obviously an ex-Forest player? Did it take time to win them over, or were they fine about it?
I think. Question. Yeah, it is a good question. I think initially, even you as the player feel that a little bit, that you've got to win them over, and the only way you can win them over is being who you are. And I always like to class myself that I was a good professional and I worked hard, and and I'd come from Forest where there was discipline, and I went to play. David Pleat signed me at Leicester. And obviously David was involved at Forest.
Yeah, he's our friend, David.
Yeah, and he like took me to Leicester, and he was talking to me about Brian Clough. He wanted to know things, and he'd say, "Gary, come here. I need to ask you. We've just lost 2-0. What would Brian Clough do now? I say, give us 4 days off, David. Oh, Gaffer.
yeah.
And double the money.
Give us 4 days off. He'd say, be serious, Gary. I said, I'm being serious.
Yeah.
I said, give us 4 days off. He'd say it'd take us away from the result and then come in and not even mention it, and we'd go on to the next game. Interesting. But they didn't believe, but it was true. But David was obsessed with passing the ball. We passed the ball at Forest and play the ball on the deck and that sort of stuff. But David Pleat was over obsessed with wanting to pass the ball because we didn't have the players to do it. Gary McAllister was there when I went there. Mike Newell was there. We had some good players there, but we just didn't have the discipline when I first went there. And when David went and got the sack, and Brian Little came in, it all changed, and it was a great time. I played 232 games in 5 seasons and managed them for 3 seasons, and got to Wembley 3 times, and I won Player of the Year twice. So it was a magic time for me.
I know they're very fond of you at Leicester, but I would imagine that you can't walk anywhere in the East Midlands without somebody recognising you.
Well, I'll go shopping in Mansfield.
There you go. Oh no, they're all going to stalk you now. You've had a couple of quite bad injuries, haven't you? You've broken your leg twice.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a fairly serious thing to come back from twice. I mean, how bad were your broken legs?
Well, the first one was horrific. The first one was it was. I went to play in America for 2 seasons. And that's another story. People say, why did you go to America? And it was the gaffer again, really. Alan Hinton, who played for the gaffer at Derby, was the manager at Seattle. And he sort of told me that I should go, really. It'd be good for me, and blah, blah, blah. So I went. The first season, we actually got to the Soccer Bowl final. We were very an English team. Peter Ward went out there with me. It didn't really work for him at Forest.
Peter Ward.
So he went out there with me. Steve Daly was out. Steve Daly was there. Roger Davis was there. Kenny Hibbett was there.
Oh my God!
We were an English side, really. We got to Soccer Bowl and lost to New York Cosmos. Carlos Alberto was playing for New York Cosmos, and that type of player. They had such a side, and
one time they had Pele and Beckenbauer, didn't they?
Pele, yeah.
Well,
Cosmos at one time.
Pele was there. He was their ambassador when we was there.
Yeah.
So I met Pele like the night before the game, and things like. Anyway, in the second season, I got married to Sue in between. Because I was going back, and I think my proposal was, why don't we just get married and come out with me? And I think that was.
Oh, you romantic thing, you.
Said, yeah, so I know.
And she's still with you. I don't know.
Yeah, we're actually it was our 40th wedding anniversary last week.
Wow!
Congrats.
It's incredible.
40 years.
Yeah.
When I went back to America the second year, Alan Hinton had lost his job, and I got another manager. And after the second game, we played Vancouver Whitecaps, and Dave Watson, Sunderland centre half, England centre half, made a challenge with me, and I went over, and my leg didn't belong to me. It just didn't belong to me. My foot was nowhere near my leg. It was horrific. But anyway, it took me a full year to get over that, which I did. But I say this, and I mean this. I was 20 when that happened, and it made me sort of think, listen, this is my life. I'm not taking anything. I had the 2 European Cups. I had England at every sort of level by then. And I wanted more, and this wasn't going to stop me. And I worked hard. Just a moment. I might have it in my drawer. Just 1 second.
Okay.
That's all the metal bit.
Sing us a song. Sing us a song.
Do you really want
Champions
to
of Europe, you'll never sing that. That's my favourite song. I think
Well,
that'd be Christmas
I
number
will
one.
tell you something. I very vividly remember being at the City Ground when Nottingham Forest played Vancouver Whitecaps that Gary just mentioned in a friendly. We beat them 17-1.
17-1. It's got his crowbar. It's got his crowbar on that one.
Look at
Right, that saved my career, so I've kept it. Because when I was in America,
That was in your leg.
That was in my leg. Yeah, that was in
What?
put down the middle of my tibia.
Yeah, well, I had a splinter yesterday and it bloody hurt.
I can't believe that. You ran round with that. When?
Yeah. So when over here at the time, they used to do in the side of you when you broke your leg here. What they call them? Sorry, I've lost my. But in America, this is how they. This is what they do, you know. And so
it's not. It doesn't bend or anything, is it?
No, solid. So that if I put my leg up, went down. So that goes from my knee to my. I don't know if you can see. Oh, I pulled my hamstring now.
Oh no!
Knee to my ankle, you know. So
that chat's so funny.
When I started playing, and I wasn't joking. When I started back playing again, the doctor at the time at Forest said, "Look, I'm not happy you playing with this rod in your leg, because if you break it with that in there, we've got big problems."
Yeah.
So thanks to Graham Sharp at Everton, when he broke my left leg up at Everton, when I broke that one, they said, right, we'll take the pin out the other one. We'll take the rod out the other one, not the pin. And that's what they've done, and I've kept that ever since.
You washed it.
That deserves a kiss as well. No, I haven't washed it, actually. No.
Oh, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
So you know, just things that are important to me, though. You know, those.
Yeah, career changes, aren't they?
Those things, and I got back fitter and better than ever. And when I got back sort of in the Forest side, I felt I was playing my best football at Forest. I had a great time. Personally, I felt that I was playing well.
Amazing. Right. Let's get some of the chat questions in, please, if we can. Wolverine, if you're there, could you please sort of pull up some chat questions? And then we'll just sort of finish off on your management career. And
I've got a quick question.
Go on, then.
I mean, I know the answer to this, but I'll let Gary say his bit. What did you think about the European Super League?
What do I think about it?
You can swear on this channel.
Yeah, you can swear on it. Yeah. I'm sure it's the same as ours.
I just think it's a fucking disgrace, and for you people, the money.
Yeah,
and that's all they think about. That's all it's about. And you said you was going to go into my managerial career in a minute, and which was mainly non-league. And that's what I love about non-league. It's still with the supporters, and the players and the management still involved with the supporters. Because when I played at Forest, we used to go into the Jubilee Club, as it was then, and have a pint with the supporters after the game, and stuff. And why they've taken that away, I do not know.
Social media.
It was magical. So. I've swore once. Don't make me swear again, Anthony, please.
Well, you know what, as well. I mean, the way I look at it is that we're a part of a fairy tale. We you more than others, obviously, but no, actually, no, that's not. I won't say that.
He's throwing his comment up again.
For me as a fan, it was a magical time as well.
Yeah.
And we went from a middle of the table second division side to double European Cup win. I'm getting emotional. Double European Cup winners, a league champions. With the Super League, that would never happen, and that's what they wanted to take away. And that to me is absolutely against everything that football in this country stands for.
Absolutely, I agree with everything every word you're saying. I think it's disgusting. It annoys me. It annoys me now that fans don't get near the players in the Premier League to say hello and, can I shake your hand? Can I just say hello to you? Can I touch you? Can I have an autograph? Can I have a photo? They don't get the chance to do that. It's wrong.
Can I squeeze your balls, Gary?
It's totally wrong. Say it again?
Can I squeeze your balls like Clough did all those years ago?
Yeah, it'd probably get put down 10 years now. I bet you get away with it now.
Yeah, I mean, players now, you see them coming off the coaches, don't you? And they have headphones in, cap on, down like that, walk straight past all the fans that have been waiting hours and just disappear. And that's the closest that fans will get to them. When I was a kid, I mean, queuing up with your little autograph book outside the changing rooms after the game, that was a normal thing for us to do, Yeah, and it was great. It brought you into football. It made you love the game.
Yeah, absolutely. It was magical. It's magical. And why take that magic away? Why money? You know what?
I watch YouTube. I watch podcasts, and everybody is going on about we want new ownership. We want oil money. We want this money. We want that money. That's all they talk about. They hardly talk about football and the players. They're talking about the finances of the club, how much a player is earning, what the transfer fees are, what the ownership's going to spend, what new ownership we're going to get. I just get fed up with it. I want them to talk about football, but they don't.
Yeah, I know.
Wolverine, if you're still there, could you bring Stoney's question up again? There you go. Which player did you idolise most at the club during the European Cup split? Or did you idolise the players at all? Or did you feel on the same level, like you mentioned?
I don't want this to come over the wrong way, but I felt on the same level. I felt on the same level because I had to be on the same level.
Yeah.
And the other players, wanted me to be on the same level. But did I admire them? Boy, did I! And every single one of them, and I hope they talk about this about me. We trusted each other. We knew what we were going to get. Did we like each other all the time? No, I possibly didn't like each other all the time, But did we respect each other? How were we successful? Because we trusted each other. We knew what we were going to get from each other. And that's what mattered at the end of the day. It wasn't, we've got to like each other because we wouldn't have had those medals if that's what it was about. We were doing a job. And we were doing a job together, and we'd done it bloody well.
I'm guessing that a 17-year-old in that dressing room with some very established people, they must have had respect for you as a footballer and as a person, because otherwise you couldn't have been part of that team. That wouldn't have worked. If they thought you were some kid, it wouldn't have worked. So they must have had that.
Well, on a personal note, you're thinking all the time, and for the management to start me in the European Cup final, showed that they felt the same.
Yeah.
And that means a hell of a lot to me, They trusted me. They knew I could go and do the job. And the other players were exactly the same. Look, there's some great. And when it's not easy to use the word great, but they were great players. Players. For the younger element now who are at Forest and that, please watch as many games as you can from that era on bogs of pitches. As well. Don't forget that. We used to play good football on horrendous. They wouldn't even. They'd call the games off these days, wouldn't they?
Absolutely. Oh yeah, some of the pitches were on. Even the City Ground. The City Ground now is like a carpet. But I mean, the game I remember very vividly for the pitch was the 3-3 against Cologne, where the pitch was like 8 inch of mud. But I was going to ask you as well. I've disappeared. I'm about I was going to ask you, what was the feeling in the dressing room when Forest signed Trevor Francis? First £1 million player. What was the feeling in the dressing room? Were they excited by it, or were they thinking, here comes Billy Big Bollocks? Or how did most of the guys sort of feel at that time?
Yeah, look, he was soon, brought back down to earth.
Played in an A-team game, didn't he?
He played in I played in that game.
Did you?
I played in that game. Yeah, we played. We played this youth game. He said, "Trevor, I want you tomorrow. You're playing for the youth team." And it's like, "What?" He said, "Yeah, don't be late, son." And Trevor come and we were playing, and the gaffer turned up about a quarter of an hour late into the game. And as he got there, he walked onto the pitch and stopped the game. And the ref says, "Excuse me, Mr. Clough, what are you doing?" He went, "I'll tell you what I'm doing. I just paid a little bit of money for that man there, and he's got no shin pads on. Now you, Francis, where's your shin pads? Has anybody got any shin pads? This man can borrow, please." And they had to find some shin pads for Trevor to wear, because I paid £1 million for you and you don't wear shin pads. And that was his, introduction to coming to Forest. But for the players, you get your banter straight away. Allegedly they didn't pay $1 million. Apparently the Clough he wouldn't pay it, would he? He'd only pay
999,999, wasn't it? Yeah.
Which we don't know if it's true, but you've got to believe it, haven't you?
I've heard that. Yeah. Gary, I've got to say, Samir, it's been absolutely brilliant interview. Thanks, Gary. I love you, Samir. Thank you very much for attending. Like attended a funeral. I told you our chat, Gary. I mean, you know Nathan, obviously.
Yeah.
Look at this. Like they're now puffing the chest out who's got the worst injury, right? So we've got Nathan, we've got Martin. Who else? We've got Pat. Anyone else?
I mean, honestly,
Stoney.
Here
you go, Simon F.
Full of cyborgs.
I feel ashamed that I've even shown that now. It's like, did you ever watch the film Jaws? Did you watch Jaws?
Yeah, when they're comparing scars.
They showed the scars and he lifted his. I feel a bit like that with that now.
Right, before we move on to your management career, Andy, you want to talk about the early bird offer for the signed shirt?
Yeah, I mean, there's a new football prize that's coming out. I'm doing this off the top of my head, by the way. It's a signed Forest away shirt. It's signed Forest away shirt. It's got all the squad on the front. It's in a frame. There's also spot prizes, one of which is another shirt you can choose of your choice. The early bird, it's £3.16 for the early bird tickets, and there are 149 tickets, so it's well worth a go.
And maybe if we can pin that link into the chat, but it will certainly be in the description at the bottom of the video after. But yeah, and there's the spot prize is number 50, and that's you've got a choice of kit, first, second, or third kit, not signed. The link has been pinned. Thank you very much. Right, so
just a quick before Gary answers this one. Just a quick one, Gary. I don't know how weird you were at the time as a 17-year-old with lovely locks and everything. I can remember back in those days the amount of jealousy in the young fan base, because all the girls wanted Gary Mills because young footballer, good looking, lovely locks. There were a lot of jealousy back then, I can tell you, my friend.
Don't ever be jealous.
But look at you. Right. Management. So you've managed 11 clubs since you.
Can he answer Nathan's question?
Sorry. Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Sorry, Nathan. I missed that.
What's his question now?
If you could liken yourself to any modern day footballer, that's a great question. Who would it be? Skills, not looks. Skills.
Oh, that's a tough one. Because I used to go past players, and they don't do it anymore, do they? I used to like going past players. I'll have to think of that one. I'll have to come back on that one.
All the wingers are inverted now, aren't they? You get a left footer's playing on the right footer's playing on the left, coming inside all the time. There's very few that go past players now.
I'll tell you who winds me up more than anybody, Jack Grealish. Because I've never known a man who gets the ball in wide positions, even 1v1s, and the ball ends up going back to his fullback or the. Yeah.
It's a Gary rant. That's what we want. We always have the ant rants every week. Now we've got a Gary rant.
or the holding midfielder. Because as an ex-wide man, I'm like, go on, take him on. And he sort of goes as if he's going to do it, comes back and then plays the ball back. And I don't know, being even an ex-player, I'm like, oh my God, is that what you get for like 100 million quid? Like,
I don't know what you mean, Pat. I don't know what you mean.
I have to say, Gary, your hair was a lot better.
Your management career. Oh, hold on. There's another question coming. Sorry. Go on, bring it back up. Okay, so what was the pitch like in the European Cup finals, and what was the best and worst pitches you played on? Oh, there was some bad ones for you, wasn't there? I remember.
Baseball ground was notorious.
Baseball ground was awful, wasn't it? Flooded a lot, and
and Forest ground was
on purpose, allegedly.
Yeah.
Look, watch the 3-3 against Cologne that you just mentioned a minute ago. As a Forest supporter, so they'll get it up on YouTube and all that. If anybody has not even seen that, the younger element these days, have a look at that game. Even Robbo scores a diving header.
You know what? Just very quickly on that was the semi-final, and we were so good at the time. Forest just didn't used to lose. And we were so good at the time that when we came out, I can remember so clearly, we came out of the pitch and Mai said, well, that's that then. And I said, what are you on about? We're just winning Cologne. And I genuinely meant it. I thought, we're just winning Cologne. What's your issue?
Yeah.
That's how good we were. Such faith and confidence in those teams,
I know. And in that, can I just mention like Ian Bowyer?
Stoop to conquer.
Wow, what a player. What a player.
Yeah, what a player indeed.
He's
so underrated. So underrated.
That it probably doesn't get a mention as Robbo was Robbo. Robbo was like, someone says to me, the best player, and then Robbo's, without a doubt. But Ian Bowyer was incredible, and the amount of important goals, and obviously particularly that header that game as well. So thought I'd give him a quick mention.
And the thing is, it's a team game. Robbo couldn't do what Robbo did, for example, if Burnsy and Lloydie weren't doing it at the back and we were letting goals in. It's a team game.
Yeah.
Like I say, Bomber Bowyer in midfield, Archie, everybody. It's a team game. It can be a bit unfair sometimes to put it down to one player because it never is it?
But like I said, we kept it basic. It was simple. So this is how simple it was. For everybody apart from Robbo, we were told, get the ball and give it to Robertson. And he used to say to some people, get the ball and give it to Robertson because he can play and you can't play. So give it to him.
Thanks, Gaffer.
It's true.
We do that with Jono now. We just pump the ball down to Jono. Another few questions here from Simon F. Gary, how do you think the game has changed since you played? And in your view, has it been for the better, VAR, etc.? The types of players, the tactics, I think we mentioned already.
I don't like VAR one bit. I get the goal line thing. If the ball's over the line, then I get that. But I think it's been a shambles, VAR. So I don't like that. I'm from an era that I loved the way the game was played in the days that I played. People are going to say, well, you're going to say that because that's when you played. But it's just too negative for me now. There's too many backwards passing. What was the World Cup game? Was it Holland when they were 2-0 down and decided to play the long ball and they ended up 2-2?
Yeah.
Because they went. And that's how we used to play.
Yeah.
And the fans used to love it because they used to get the ball in the opposition's box quicker and so I'm not going to call today's game totally because I would have loved personally. The fitness side of it now and all that and and everything, but I was lucky. I would never have swapped the years that I played and the way we played, and not just the way we played on the field, but I mentioned a minute ago the togetherness with the fans was so much more. We were sort of in it together all the time, and don't get me wrong, of course the Forest fans make a massive difference now, but they don't get a chance to sort of say that to their heroes, if you like, and the players they go and support.
Yeah, true. Andy Porter says, Gary, do you still go to any of the Forest games, and what would be your best one you've seen? Do you still follow Forest? Do you still get down?
Come on. Did you mean that?
I mean, on a regular basis at the ground.
Yeah, I do. We can't get any tickets, so we have to buy our tickets if we want to go, sort of thing. Not that we shouldn't. I don't want that, but we
got a European Cup winners medal, so
yeah, it'd be nice to get a ticket. But
I
let you off there.
I don't agree with that. I think you should be given tickets.
Yeah.
You're a Forest legend, mate. You should be given tickets.
Yeah, but you've said it, Ant. I haven't now, but so.
And I'll say it as well.
And but it was like I don't know. I've lost the question, Dean. Ask him again.
Just do you go down to the Forest games? Do you enjoy it? What's been the best one? Well, I think going on from what Andy said is that do you enjoy this season under Cooper in the Premier League? And
yeah, I've enjoyed it more now. I just at the beginning of the season, and we all know the influx of players, and it was going to take time and all that. And I was just a bit disappointed the way we sort of set up not to lose, and and people at the time were going, well, there's only one thing going to happen here. We're going straight back down, sort of thing. And then we got a bit more positive, as in, we started to put a run together and got us to where we've got to. And it's in our hands to stay up still. We're not in that bottom three. So it's still in our hands and in a great position to go and stay in this league and learn from what's happened this season and go even better next season.
Would you do anything different if you were the manager of Forest now with the current squad? What would you do differently?
Well, I would set up how Steve set up, as in formation wise. So like the 4-3-3 that he sort of set up a lot with, and I set up that with my teams, but I used to give my players a right rollicking if they didn't come off the line and go and make the runs, and if the ball got cut out, then the other striker would drop in for them, and that's how I used to play, and because of that, I was going to Brennan or Lingard, who was playing on the left at times occasionally, or whoever was playing there, was go on, make those runs. We've got to go and hurt. We've got to go and hurt side. So that's I would have played the same 4-3-3, but a bit more positive in it. But whether that's because I've got no points at stake by saying that, I don't know. But I just think I went to Wolves. I was asked to go as the guest at Wolves on the supporters coach, which was a lovely day for me. And we stopped at Aston Villa and we had lunch and I'd done a bit of a talk and we lost the game 1-0, as you know, and Brennan missed a penalty. And because I was there that day and I could see it, and I was going, go on, make that run, go on. And when the ball was on the left back position, Brennan was still on the touchline on the right hand side, and we had this. It was down the middle. The strike at the time down the middle on his own, and I'm thinking we're never going to. And this was Wolves, and Wolves were poor. Wolves were poor, and it was there a game to go and be. I don't know if you went, but it was a game to be won.
That's Surridge going down the middle. He was free, wasn't he, Surridge? Was it talking about this year, this season?
Talking about this season, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Surridge, wasn't it, in the middle on his own?
Yeah, and it was just getting to me a bit because I was like, go on, we can go and win this game, So it was just like be a bit more positive with the.
That's the thing, isn't it?
No midfield player,
go for it.
And no midfield player going. We had a holding midfield and 2 attacking midfielders, and not one of the attacking midfielders ever went past the strikers.
Yeah. That's the big issue.
Yeah. So it's easy to, and we know because we all have our opinions. Blah blah
Dennis,
blah.
Thank you.
But I'll say again, if people didn't hear, I'm confident we'll stay up, but I think we'll stay up by a point.
Okay. Squeaky bum
I've
time.
done my maths.
Yeah, we've done our maths as well. We're probably a little bit more positive than you, but yeah.
Well, the problem is when you're predicting results, it's so difficult to predict losses for your own team. So you do tend to go a little bit positive. With the prediction.
Well, of course you do.
You can't help it. But I believe we'll stay up. I've said all along. I think that the squad we have is actually a good squad. We've got some good players. If we could just get them all fit and play the right formation and be a little bit more adventurous, I think we can stay up. I'm confident of that.
Yeah, and don't forget, we're talking, and there's another 8 clubs talking exactly the same.
Yeah, and they are. Yeah,
this is what I keep telling people that say, "Oh, Forest are down." Say, "Well, hold on. We've won the same number of games. Nobody's won any more." Sorry, out of those 9 teams. There's only 2 teams that won one more game than us. The rest have won the same. They're not going to all of a sudden go on a brilliant run and be fantastic. They're going to be the same as us. They're going to win. They're going to draw. They're going to lose.
Of course.
And they all play each other. Everybody plays each other as well. So
it's those that can pull a couple of wins out of the hat, isn't it? In the next 5 or 6 games, that's.
Well, the last half a dozen games we haven't won a game. So and I think we've had a good period. Now we've had a bad period. It's time for a good period again. And I think we'll get a result on Saturday, in my opinion, and I think we can go and get a result of some kind next week in midweek. And I agree with you, Ant. There's a little bit of that's my team, so I'm going to say that.
Yeah.
But
I think the players coming back.
The two teams we're playing. Listen, they're not lighting up any. They're not doing great. So
agreed.
It's like Wolves. Everybody keeps saying, "Oh, Wolves they're going to be all right. They're going to be all right." Well, hang on. They've had 26 games and they're still where they are. You know what I mean? There's nothing to suggest that all of a sudden they're going to turn it on and be great. Look at Leicester. I mean, blooming hell, they're really struggling.
Yeah.
Are you there Saturday, Millsy?
No, I can't get a ticket.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
There is a ticket. There is a ticket available, isn't there?
Really?
Yeah. I'll talk to you after. Crypto Rider, I've put this comment up a couple of times now. So, how did the regular training and running affect your fitness in later life? The reason he asks is because his dad's knees are knackered from playing too much.
I'm fine. I've knees are no problem whatsoever. I've never had a problem with my knees. I've had one new hip, but I played till I was 48, non-league. So I sort of player manager. So I kept myself so fit.
Get him off! Get him off!
I'm becoming sick of you now.
Yeah.
Honestly, I couldn't even climb the stairs at that age. Seriously. Oh my God.
No, my last game was at Tamworth. My team that I managed at Tamworth against Ebbsfleet United. I was 48 in the National League, and that was it. That was it. I think I couldn't go any further. And I got to 50, and I thought I've got to drop a few of my disciplines here. So I started to have a few more roast potatoes on my plate on the side, a couple more things. But I loved it. I loved it. I loved being fit. I loved. I kept myself fit. But since 50, I've got myself unfit.
Right. That's fair enough. We
can
give you that.
I was about 24 when that happened to me.
Gary's gone.
I'm sure he'll be back.
Oh, his iPad's run out.
Chat.
Oh, he's back. He's back. Okay.
Sing again. Oh no, it's okay.
Right. So I'm going to blend these last two questions into one here.
Can I just say?
Yeah. Sure.
I was just saying that, I'm since 50, I made myself unfit.
Yeah.
Boy, have I enjoyed that as well.
Yes.
That's been lovely.
Is that why we're seeing you from the neck up? I'm going to blend these next two questions into one. These are the last two from the members. So Samir says, reaching the dizzy heights as an 18-year-old, was the rest of you clear an anticlimax as such, which is quite an interesting question. And blended in with Simon F's comment is there anything you regret or wish you'd done in your playing career? So that's probably, you can probably answer that in one go. I'll bring the first one up.
Listen, it wasn't an anticlimax. I just absolutely loved, from Forest, I went over to Notts County, and in my first season, I won Player of the Year there, and that meant so much to me. I never won Player of the Year at Forest, and I always.
You were only a young boy, for goodness' sake.
Not always.
No, yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah,
Not
you were there
always,
10 years.
But I love my time at Notts. But it was then, Leicester came in for me, and it was time to sort of move on. Well, the reason I moved on, Neil Warnock come to Notts County, and he's had a great career, hasn't he? And what he done at Notts was unbelievable. But he come training one day in his car, and he says, "I want to give you a lift back to the ground, Gary." I said, "All right, Gaffer, yeah." So I sat in his car, and we drove him back, and he went, "Gary, listen, I think you're the same as me. You're not for me, and I'm not for you, are we? We're not right, are we?" And I went, "No, Gaffer, you're right." Because he used to say to me, "When you get the ball, knock it 70 yards over the other fullback's head and then squeeze." And I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
I want to dribble out with the ball from fullback, and I want to pass the ball. And he went, "You're going to kill my teams if I play you, so you're going to have to go. We'll put you on the list." And that's what happened. And
a good thing, actually, wasn't it? On reflection, that was probably a good thing that
well, Phil, took place. I'm gonna have to. Battery's getting low. I'm gonna have to get me thinking. But Phil Turner came from Leicester as part of the deal. I think Notts got 300,000 plus Phil Turner, and Phil Turner was incredible for Notts County. And I didn't do too bad at Leicester, so it worked both ways for both clubs. And that's the lovely honesty, like with Neil Warnock, absolutely fantastic. And I love things like, the older I've got, I love things like that, because I went into management. So, as much as I learned from Brian Clough, you learn things like that from Neil Warnock, and how to manage.
Go get your charger, Millsy. Yeah, I'll talk about your book. Okay, we don't want him to die on us again. So, Young Millsy is Gary Mills's book of his career and into his management career as well. And we're actually doing a giveaway. So Gary's quite kindly said that he'd give us a signed copy. We get a signed copy of the book over, and that will be in a members kind of the wheel of doom spinny wheel where we put all the members in, and then the winner gets a free signed copy of Gary's book. But the book is available, and there's lots of things that Gary will not say on here or any other podcast or any other interview, because it's important to buy his book. So it's quite important that to get the full story and the full inside Wheel of Doom, the full inside story of Gary's amazing career and behind the scenes, then it is called Young Millsy. Young Millsy? Is that any better?
No, that was worse. I was happy.
I'm going to be practicing it all night.
Should have stopped at your first attempt, didn't
I? It is available. Gary, did your guy from Nottingham come back to you?
He did.
Yeah.
So can I read what he's put on my...
You can. Absolutely.
You can just explain to the people that I didn't put it into bookshops and that I'd done what I'd done. That I'm glad I did. But a lot of people have said to me, how to get hold of your book. So if I can just read this and then it makes sense and I'll read it again. It says, tell them to just search on eBay for the seller, The Wackman, WAKMAN, or via the Facebook and signed autographs or email. The email being thewackman@yahoo.com.
WAKMAN.
WAKMAN.
Can you put that in the? Can you pin that in the chat, please?
We'll put it in the description.
And put it in the description after. Yeah.
Okay, so that's where they can get a copy, and they'll all be signed. And if they want, I can personalise them as well, if they request that.
Wow. Okay, you can't get fairer than that. So if you go and buy it from any other outlet,
we'll do that.
It's going to be a straight book. And you can have a very personalised book if you get it from here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, Melzy, your management career, 11 clubs.
Yeah.
What was your style? Did you take? Very impressive. Very impressive. Seeing this. Was your style?
Sorry, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean.
You played under a few managers, okay? So maybe you picked up a bit of something from everyone. Is that the case, or did you kind of always have your own style? Did you always think you were going to go into management?
Yeah, I always wanted to. I would say I always wanted to. Certainly, the latter part of my career, late 20s, 30, certainly 30. I wanted. I was starting to be a bit more opinionated with things that were sort of happening, decisions that the gaffer was making that I was playing for at the time. And I would never go and say, you shouldn't do it like that. But inside, I was thinking, this isn't right. I don't agree with that. And maybe because I was with those bunch of players and the manager was saying things at the time that I thought, I think you got that wrong, gaffer, But sort of saying that inside, even though I did have my opinion to the gaffer at the time, but I would never step over the mark and think, he's the gaffer, he's the one who makes the decisions, and if he says boot at 80 yards, then I've got to boot at 80 yards because that's what he's telling me to do. So yes, I learnt so much from every manager, and I played under some good ones, some real good managers. That you couldn't help but learn things off all of them, and not all good, some managers, a couple of managers I played for, I thought, no, I don't ever want to be like you.
Name and shame.
I don't want to do things. I don't want to do things that way,
Name and shame.
God mercy. No, I'm not going to.
Did you say Gary Megson then? Did you say Gary Megson?
No, I didn't say Gary Megson.
No.
You can't.
This is Gary Pegson. Gary Pegson.
The guy was bought by Forest as a player, never made an appearance, and all of a sudden, a few years later, he comes back as manager, and we wish he'd never made an appearance again.
Yeah. There's a few like that.
Gary was one of those players that couldn't handle the way the gaffer was, and as a player, and he was like scared stiff was probably a bit strong, but that's. Yeah. He was so nervous, He was so the gaffer made him so nervous, and he had to go in the end, But no, I didn't say that. But I learned good things, and I learned some things that I didn't ever want to bring into management.
I love it when FFTV digs up the dirt. I really do.
But sometimes you can learn what not to do just as much as what to do, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely that. But I loved it. I loved managing. I loved all of it. But I always wanted to do that. I didn't want to coach. Maybe because I was brought up that I weren't allowed to coach. I don't know.
Yeah, coach.
and I think that is a big part of it. I know we laugh, but I wanted to keep it simple. I wanted to be basic. Yeah. I wanted to do things out of the ordinary that players think, what the hell's the gaffer, things like we went on holiday to Mallorca for a week before the European Cup final, and we used to do things like that at Forest, and because I think it's healthy, and you get a good spirit, and our dressing room was good, and you got to have a good dressing room, but if one does it, we all do it, it was one of them. you know, Gaffer, I can't come because, well, sorry, you're going to have to tell your wife you can't go shopping at Aldi because you're coming with us. You're coming with us. You know, we're going to the cinema. We're going to go and watch a film. So I'd watch a film that sort of got to me and made me feel. And next day I go, can I have 50 quid out of the pot, please? Because I want to take my players to watch this film. And we'd go, rather than train, we'd go and watch a film because that was just as important for me. And then I'd get them up the next day and go, now tell me how good was that film? You know, and you could see it, you know, and that's coaching.
That is coaching.
Yeah.
Best managerial moment. What out of the clubs that you've managed? What have you enjoyed the most? That's a Simon F. question.
The thing about management, you've got to enjoy it because you know you're going to get grief, you know you're going to get abuse, you know you're going to get some stick, and even that's not always when you're losing. You know, even sometimes when you're winning. So you've got to be strong. You got to have broad shoulders, and you've got to do it your way. You know, you've got to do it your way because what you know in management is that one day you're going to walk out that door, either by your choice or somebody comes in and will take you away from the club that you're at, or the club want to get rid of you. But when you go out that door, you've got to know that you've done it your way and you haven't caved into other people's opinions or fans that get on your back that much that you get, why aren't you playing him? And you end up playing someone you don't really want to play. So you have to be strong in those situations. So I've done that. I'm proud to say I've done that. You know, I've never caved into. You listen. Don't get me wrong. I'm not, you know, that arrogant and stuff. Although you have to be, you know, a bit arrogant to do the job. But I've had some good years, and I started at Grantham Town, same as Martin O'Neill, where he started, and I'd done that well at Grantham. I thought I was going to manage Man United the next season. It was like that's how it felt, you know. And I soon come to learn that's not how it works. And I've never gone and managed as high and as I wanted to, but I've got no regrets as to the clubs that I've managed, and the pleasure and enjoyment that I've got through managing the clubs that I've managed. You know, I've been to in my career, I've been to Wembley 10 times as a player and a manager.
Nice.
And the first time I walked a club out at Wembley, was for Leicester when we beat Derby because I was injured. I didn't play in it, and Brian Little come to me on the day of the game and said, "I'd like you to walk the team out." And
that's really
amazing,
nice.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And
I remember
so you can imagine, you know, and I'm shivering now thinking of that. But then I went back. I've been back with York City 3 times to Wembley, and I took Gateshead to Wembley in the playoff final to get back in the Football League as well. And I walked.
That must have been amazing.
Incredible, absolutely incredible. You know, I've done both. I got York back in the Football League. We beat Luton Town back in 2012, and that's the place to get promoted. That's the place to go and win and get promoted.
We know.
As Forest fans know. And then I took Gateshead, who had never been to Wembley. And they got chucked out of the Football League in 1960. And my beautiful chairman at Gateshead, and what a beautiful man, Graham Wood, his name is, beautiful man. All he wanted to do, he's in his 70s now, he wanted to see his side, because he was a boy, stood on the turns, you know what I'm talking about, watching terraces, watching his team play as a kid. And he said to me when he took me on, he said, "I want you as my manager, and I want you to get my club back into the Football League." And and they were bottom but one when I took over. I'd booked a holiday the following May with my family to Turkey. And as the season was going on, my wife was going, "You're getting nearer these playoffs. This holiday."
Bloody playoffs.
But anyway, we ended up finishing third that season, and we played Cambridge United in the playoff final at Wembley in 2015, and we lost 2-1. Jack Leicester was playing for me.
Jack Leicester
At Gateshead, and he scored the goal. We were 2-0 down. He came on as sub for me, scored the goal, 2-1. But we had a couple of chances to get back in, but we never did. So I've won and lost, but I've played there.
You got to Wembley before Newcastle did.
Yeah, well, there've been a couple of times where they just lose, don't they? But no, it's been been fantastic, and the memories you make getting Grantham promoted. I got Tamworth promoted into the National League, and then we got ourselves to second place in the National League with Tamworth, and everything was going great for me, And so, but I've had, I went to Notts County. I've been Notts County manager, and it didn't work. It didn't work out for me, So I didn't last long at Notts County, which, because things had gone well there for me as a player, and it sort of hurt me when I went back as the manager that it didn't. It didn't work out.
Gary, look at Stuart Pearce. I mean, he was a legend at Forest, manager, and just didn't work.
Yeah, it happens, but it happens. I think the worst thing when that happens is when you live in the city. You can't go anywhere, and that's when it becomes tough. But these things happen, and when it doesn't work out for you, then you go somewhere else and it does, and you're like, yes, I know I can do this. It's like, this is what I'm good at. So I've loved my managerial career. Getting York was an incredible, because the week before we got promoted, we were actually at Wembley the week before, because we got to the FA Trophy final. We beat Newport County in the trophy final, so we'd done the double in a week, both at Wembley. So that was a magical time for me. Magical.
Have you done with management now, Gary, or have you any thoughts that you might want to get back? I mean, you're fit.
I don't think my wife's listening, but
I won't say anything.
Yeah. I do, but it gets tougher, and.
Well, let's face it. Roy Hodgson's just got back to be a Premier League manager, and he's 75, so we've got years to go on it.
I know. I never say never. I'd love to, if the right club come along and sort of at the level that I sort of know that I don't want to go any lower than.
Yeah, sure.
But I'm realistic. If it doesn't happen,
Oh.
He's doing some labouring now doing some labouring now for my brothers. So they've got a building business. I'm labouring for them at the minute.
Well, I hope you can get back into football. Yeah.
In the yards and stuff like that. But life's.
Listen, Gary, if I was fit enough, I'd come and help you out, mate. So I could listen to your stories all day, but I'm not fit enough to do that sort of thing.
Gary, the nice thing when I go into the yards. Are you running out? Sorry.
No. Absolutely. Go.
No, I just say when I go into the builders' yards, and so I've got to know the people there now, and they love listening to the stories, And I say I've got to go. I've got to get these bricks back to where we're working at. Look, just tell us another. That can't. They don't believe half the stories. Certainly the Forest stories. They don't believe half. I said, I'm telling you the truth. They go, that's not true. I'm telling you, and they don't believe it. So you get the banter with that as well. So so I'm enjoying that.
Gary, we've been going nearly 2 hours now, and I know time's precious. We really appreciate you coming on the show. A couple of quick fire questions for you, a bit more fun. What's your transfer value if you were playing today?
Oh,
come on, chat. Join in. What would Gary be worth today?
Gary,
and
your salary as well.
And salary.
Yeah, your salary. Yeah.
Say again, Gary.
Salary. I say Anthony can answer what I'm worth. To be fair, he used to watch me, so maybe he can.
Anthony, what's he worth?
I'd go 60 mil.
Really?
60 mil.
That's got to be worth a good salary then.
It's way more than 19 mil. I wonder who you're talking about, Crypto.
Salary wise, I think you're looking at minimum 150k a week. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? But that's modern Premier League football. Gary was a top level footballer who won 2 European Cups, captained Leicester, made 700 appearances. You know, we're talking about a proper footballer here.
Yeah.
So if you compare with what's around at the moment, then you know,
people say to us, I sort of finished when the Bosman ruling come in and all the money sort of started coming into to the players, and there was no transfer fees, and the transfer fees were going to the players, so missed out on all of that. But one thing, and I always say this, and I mean it, of course I'd like just a year's contract to some of the salaries. That would do lovely.
Yeah.
We could do me, mate. I tell you.
Rather than playing until you're 47.
A player on
of course I would, but
I'll take that.
But what I'll always say this, and this is true. I'm rich in memories, and I know, and I know people say, "Oh, here they go talking." It's true. You can't take away the memories that I had. When I was at Forest, them memories. Talking to you about it now, and I love getting with mates and people and talking about it, because some of these players might have a lot of noughts in their bank accounts, but they can't talk how I'm talking now.
I tell you, Gary,
because they've not experienced.
Gary, you better block my number on your phone, because I can talk to you about it, mate. Oh,
it's gone. See, what have you done, Ant? You've done it again. You always upset everybody, or the guests, anybody.
No.
You go off on one, you make a bloody, and it. Oh, Ant.
I know. All I mentioned was the fact that
the end is near.
All I mentioned was the fact that I ring him and talk to him about he's gone.
He might not come back this time now.
No.
Right. Well, if he doesn't, chat, thanks for being there. I really hope you enjoyed it. Remember, if you want one of the signed books, if you want to buy one of the signed books, he's coming back now. If you want to buy one of the signed books, please put your comments in the chat underneath. Not in this chat, but when the video recorded video goes live, put it in those comments. If you want it personalised, Gary will sort that out for you. He keeps dropping in and out, so I don't know whether he's able to come back. He's setting up a premium rate number for him. He did scare him as well.
It's just blocking the number as we speak.
I need a red card. I actually need a red card for this sort of stuff. He's trying to get back in, I think. It'd be nice to say goodbye to him.
Yeah. Of course, we don't want to just drop out. We don't want to end it like this.
Yeah, Twitter, the FFTV main Twitter, mate. Thank you, Martin. He's back.
We're back.
Thought I scared you off, Gary, because I was just saying you're going to have to block the number because I'll be ringing up to talk about this, and then you disappeared. I didn't mean block it right now. We could have waited.
That's probably a sign that we all need to put 50p's in the meter. But we did get a bit of intel from your wife, Sue, that she didn't even like footballers before she met you, and still doesn't. Did you know that?
I did. Yeah. Of course I know that.
Well, it might just be something that's one of those 40-year secrets.
I said to Gary, well, there must have been at least one you liked. She went, oh, yes, what?
Right. I've just, when you went, Gary, all I said was to the chat, if they want to, if you say you're going to put, you can personalize the signed copies if anybody wants to buy it from Whackman. Is that right? Whackman? Yeah. That's pinned in the comment. That'll be in the description.
Have you got that email address? Or
I think we got it. We got it. Yeah, we got it. We'll move it into the description, so when the video goes up, we'll do that. But you've been an absolute legend, mate, and a couple of hours with us.
I've got one last request for Gary.
Go on.
Another massive favour. Can you just look into the camera and say subscribe to Forest Fan TV?
Subscribe to Forest Fan TV.
With a little bit more emotion than that.
Yeah, something like
subscribe.
Hang on, something like I'm Gary Mills, European Cup winner for Nottingham Forest, and I'm telling you, subscribe to one.
Or you could do it in a Clough voice, whatever. A bit more.
Hello, I'm Gary Mills. I used to play for Forest. Please subscribe to Forest TV now.
There you go. Thank you very much. Right. You can't go without this, Nathan. Right. That's the question he's been trying to get out all night. Is Auntie Val the best mother-in-law an ex-player could have?
What does he want?
He wants an answer, apparently.
Listen, I've got a big nose, so there we go. Of course she is. Of course she is. Of course she is.
On that note, Gary, it's been a pleasure for Ant and I. Thank you very much. Much love, my friend.
It's been lovely. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's been lovely.
And show Gary some love. Thank you, Gary. I really appreciate it. And see you guys later. Thanks in the chat for keeping us entertained again. Take care.